Marvel's Wolverine video game in trouble. Oh man, yeah. If you have not heard about this corporation, Sweet Baby Inc., just about any time you hear of them having their name, get there. I'll look at Soup in chat. Yeah. Anytime you hear about them having their name, their company associated with a project, people are like, oh, Jesus, here we go. This is some contracted company that has been, for one reason or another, found themselves in a position of constantly being tabbed to incorporate, you know, a lot of diversity in games, but it hasn't played very well. You know, that's kind of their MO is they get contracted out to go, you know, incorporate diversity into and in many various forms and fashions into these gameplay experiences. And look, there's nothing wrong at all with diversity being in games, right? But it feels weird with the way that Sweet Baby's done a lot of it. It feels very forced. It feels like it is, you know, anybody that hangs out here very often knows how I feel about, you know, all areas of diversity when it comes to, it doesn't matter if it's race or sexual preference or orientation or whatever. Just live your best life. Just be a good human being, dude. That's what it's about. Be a good person, you know? And really just, you know, as long as people are good people, that's all that should really matter. You shouldn't be, you know, just because it's so wild to me that people get discriminated against just for differences, right? But there's this weird notion and thing that happens with a lot of stuff in our world where it does get forced, you know, and I'm not saying that there doesn't need to be, you know, awareness about it, and it doesn't need to be on all fronts. There shouldn't be discrimination. There needs to be awareness about there not being prejudice, and there needs to be social justice, and there needs to be, you know, equal rights and stuff. But it's weird when it does feel just spewed onto everything, and it doesn't feel, you know, like it's a naturally kind of incorporated thing. And a lot of times with Sweet Baby Inc., what we've seen is that a lot of people feel like what's incorporated on all fronts of what they do, it feels very forced. No matter what side of this they try to incorporate in their entertainment, you know, projects that they're put on, it feels very weird, and it's to the detriment of the project always. So let's take a look at this. Follows the company having worked on the massive failure of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. It's sounding as if it's RIP Wolverine, as it is learned the new video game in development has Sweet Baby Inc. on board as advisors who helped ruin the recent Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League game that massively failed and led to a loss at Warner Brothers of $200 million. Let's be clear here, though. There were a lot of things wrong with Suicide Squad. I mean, you can't attribute all of this to, like, you know, the way this makes this sound is like it was just Sweet Baby Inc. that ruined Suicide Squad. No, Warner Brothers definitely, you know, they had their heads up their butts, dude, and they forced Rocksteady to make something, you know, that was really just trying to scum people out of money, and a live service game costing a AAA price point, and the content wasn't there, and, you know, it wasn't built for the long haul like they were telling everybody it was. And I mean, this was not a game that in many areas of development was built to succeed, okay? And don't get me wrong, having Sweet Baby Inc. on as part of the project didn't help them, but you know, there were many things wrong with this project and this piece of software. But apparently Sweet Baby Inc. is back at it with Marvel's Wolverine video game from Insomniac Games. Mark Kern, aka Grums on X, the former lead for World of Warcraft and the producer of Diablo 2 and StarCraft, goes over big news where a lead artist at major gaming studios revealed his frustrations with the gaming industry. Yesterday, a principal artist, lead at major studios such as Naughty Dog, Rocksteady, and Respawn talked about his frustration at trying to get his designs for beautiful female characters approved at AAA studios. Tweeted Grums, every time he concepted every time he pitched them, every time he brought it up at meetings, he was ignored. Grums added, inexplicably, each character went from beautiful to grocery store antics, each revision worse than the last. Regarding the Wolverine video game, Grums points out how bad Jean Grey looks. Look at what happened to Jean Grey from at Insomniac Games Marvel's Wolverine, from these leaked early screenshots of the first beautiful model to the masculine world-weary version we have today. He tweeted, they are ruining at Marvel. This is Jean Grey? Wait, what? He continued, and yes, Marvel's Wolverine is a Sweet Baby Inc. game. We were told it was the difficulty of scanning actors or just tricks of light and bad screen caps. We were told we were incels for even questioning it. As a game dev, I knew this was BS. As gamers, you knew it was BS from comparisons with Asian games. Grums also revealed the developer who revealed the problems within the industry is liberal and woke. But the problems are so bad, the liberal and woke developer felt compelled to reveal what is going on within the gaming industry. This is no fan of gamers or GG2. This is a liberal woke dev with seemingly a lot of talent who is bringing you this information, and he hates to have you use it. But he feels strongly enough that even he has to say something, tweeted Grums. This is no myth. This is no conspiracy theory. This is happening in AAA, and you were right all along. Nice picture. Grums explains how Sweet Baby is ruining Marvel's Wolverine. We know that Sweet Baby is involved with Marvel's Wolverine. We know this because of Sweet Baby's own tweets and because a narrative director for Insomniac's Wolverine ran to the defense of Sweet Baby Incorporated. He tweeted. He continued, SBI does two things well talked about. They assist with dialogue and story, and they also assist with character design. By now, everyone knows Sweet Baby's public mission to insert DEI sensitivity into all games. This is their sole purpose and pitch as a consulting company. Grums added, and this explains why Jean Grey went from great to grocery store auntie. Follow the entire thread below. These are empty token gestures born of a knee-jerk response to misguided empathy, said Grums. They do more harm than good, and they will continue to hurt the entire industry as the trend continues. It's time to stop. Something big happened yesterday, and most people missed it. What's up, Reject? How you doing, buddy? Every theory we had about the uglification of women in AAA gaming turned out to be true. Look at what happened to Jean Grey. They've got a link here. Here, I'll pull it up real quick. This is quite disgusting if this is actually true, man. And it does. I don't know why it... Bro, are you serious? So look, I mean, it's quite obvious. You can tell here that this is not a finished product, right? So let's. It's important to be careful here. We obviously can tell this is not finished. You can tell even from Jean Grey's, if this is in fact Jean Grey. Her body is not even finished yet or anything like that. I would assume that there's still work to be done here in many forms and fashions, right? So, I would say there's still hope. It's hard not to jump to conclusions here, or when you see, because I mean, dude, this is not what people expect out of a representation of Jean Grey. Let's be very clear here, okay? This is not it, right? So I agree. This is definitely Jean Grey. You can see it right here. Hero Jean Grey formal. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, so we know that Sweet Baby is involved with Marvel's Wolverine. We know this because of Sweet Baby's own tweets and because a narrative director for Insomniac's Wolverine game ran the defense of SBI. Yeah. The answer is no, none of these changes help. They don't help the industry plagued by layoff and soft sales. They don't help gamers, many of whom are women who want to play beautiful female characters. They don't help trans who also want to pass as beautiful women. And ellipses. That's from Grums. Look, man. Yeah, I think if you don't know who Sweet Baby Inc. is at this point, let me just... I gave everybody a pretty good synopsis of who they are, but narrative development and consultation based in Montreal, founded by former Ubi developers, including scriptwriter Kim Belair and product manager David Bedard. The company consults on video game narratives during development to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion within game narratives. So, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? Don't get me wrong. It's not necessarily a bad thing. But, there is this, I think, very fine line between, oversaturating content with, like, forcing it. Basically you're forcing too much of the content to just be polluted with this kind of narrative instead of it just being, you know, more of a naturally incorporated, feeling more naturally incorporated, right? And it feels like for most people that's where Sweet Baby Inc. is with a lot of this stuff. It feels like whenever they have their hands on a project, it's just grossly polluted with too much too much of this kind of notion, and so it's to the detriment of these projects normally. Just kind of like what we read. Yeah, I mean, even, you know, the developers can't really get anything done without it constantly, you know, their work being belittled and having to go back and redo stuff and redo stuff and redo stuff and redo stuff, you know what I mean? And it's like, Jesus. I mean, to the point of where even, you know, a traditional character like, dude, we're talking about X-Men characters, right? Like Jean Grey. I mean, Jean Grey is traditionally, you know, I mean, we all know what Jean Grey traditionally looks like. She's been portrayed as from, and not that it has to be that way, but I mean, you know, that's what people expect. And because Sweet Baby Inc. has their hands on this, now you're talking about, you know, that was actually a pretty good, I think, definition of what Sweet Baby's made them turn Jean Grey into was, you know, basically like an upper middle-aged, you know, anti-looking kind of character. It doesn't look like Jean Grey, you know, which is, it's weird. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, to be honest. You know, and that, I think that's where you're getting at with this situation of things being just pushed too far, right? Again, I think it's great to the way things used to always be in video games, being stereotypical, you know, with just Caucasian characters and things like that. We've moved a long ways, you know, heterosexual Caucasian characters with blue eyes and blonde hair or whatever. We've moved a long ways, and that's great. But it also needs to, you know, it's going a little bit too far with Sweet Baby. I'll say that for sure.